those of you who are new how it works, you'll see soon that we do this without a calculator, and that we complete this chain. We start over here where 2/5 are, and then we carry on and we complete what it is we need to do to get to the next answer. Sometimes you have to fill in what you need to do to get to the next answer. Sometimes you need to actually fill in the next answer in the block. So either the operation or the answer that you have calculated. So I'm going to give you this one. I actually helped a little bit. I filled in 2 answers for you, so to make it a little bit easier. But for the rest, you need to give it your best shot. Okay, last one in this series of lessons with our chains. We'll see if they pitch again when we do decimal fractions, but this is really to challenge you to get good with counting in fractions. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 2.5 minutes. That's always right there where you are. You just do it there in your book and you complete it. No posting in the chat, just there where you are on your own, giving it your best try. Okay, ready, steady, and 2.5 minutes, go. Okay, there's a minute to go. Okay, and that is time up. I wonder how it went. No one posted that they finished, so I'm wondering if anyone did finish. But not to worry, remember we always look at the number of ones we attempted and the number of ones we got right of the ones that we attempted. And if you did complete all of them, then wow, well done. Okay, so the first one, to get to 1 1/5, we need to add 4/5. And then from 1 1/5 to 1 1/5, that's just adding 0. So remember, it's a tick for each one you get right. Then these ones I helped you with, they were clues, they were filled in, so you had to start again from question C. And 1 3/7, we subtract 4/7 to get 6/7. And then 6/7 plus 2/7 are going to give me 8/7. And then 8 sevenths plus another 8 sevenths will give me 2 and 2 sevenths. So you could have thought about this as 16 sevenths. So 2 and 2 sevenths, that will be 16 sevenths. Anyway, then you carry on and you add another 3 to get 2 and 5 sevenths, and then you add another 2 sevenths to fill up the hole, and that gives you the 3. Now we need to go down from 3 to 1 and 7/8. So to get to 1 and 7/8, you're definitely going to subtract a 1 and then 1 more 8th, and that's going to give you 1 and 7/8. And then we add 4/8 to that to give me 2 and 3/8. Okay, and then we go plus 5/8. That fills up the from 2 and 3/8. That fills up again. That gives us 3. And then we subtract 7/20. Now we're switching again. So we've gone from 5ths to 7ths to 8ths and now to 20ths. So that will give me 2 and 13/20. And then we take away another 7/20 to give me 2 and 6/20. And now we need to go from 2 and 6/20, and we subtract 7/20 from that. That's going to go down to 2, and then 1 more is going to give me 1 and 19/20. And then subtract 1 and 12/20 to get to 7/20. And then lastly, to finish that up, to get to 1, we're going to add 13/20. Okay, so that was that one. I wonder how people went. Post your answers and your scores in the chat if you want to brag about it. And also, if you're improving, share that with us. It is good to know that you are getting better at it. 4 out of 9. 6 out of 6 for Tara Jane. Well done. Yes, we can also subtract. We need to do what makes sense, eh? 8 out of 8, 6 out of 9, 9 out of 9. Well done, guys. The accuracy is very good. So that's important. And then as you practice more, the speed will come. All right. So that's our fraction chain for now. You're welcome to take a screenshot of that and then to finish it or to attempt it again on your own, and to see if maybe when it's less pressure, when you can just do it in your own time. I actually would suggest that if you just take your time, no time pressure, whatever, then see how you actually do. Maybe you get it all right if you don't have the pressure of time. By the way, we just do the pressure of time, or we just put a time limit on it just so that we can actually get through our lesson, and just to kind of challenge those people who are fast at this. So the time is not actually that important. It's more about the accuracy and doing and knowing what to do. 8 out of 9 is good, Lunico. That's right. Okay, let's move on and leave our number chain behind, and let's go. We're just going to go back and finish some of our multiplication that we started on Monday. And you'll notice, by the way, that we are only doing multiplication where there's a fraction with a whole number. Later on in the year, maybe your school's doing all the fractions all at once, but later on in the year, you'll also multiply fractions with fractions and mixed numbers with mixed numbers. We're just working on this for now. So if you stick with Watobe, later on in the year, you'll definitely be doing more fractions. So don't think that this is it for fractions, okay? This is just the start of fractions. This is term 1. We're just getting going, okay? So you still have a whole journey ahead of you until the end of the year with fractions and all the other things that we've been doing. So don't think that if you don't get it now, it's like the end of the world. It will be revisited and revisited, not just at your school, but here at Watobe as well. Okay. Right, so here we have, and just to refresh your memory, what we did in, remember, we're only taking questions during question time, so please put your hand down now. It is not question time yet. So just listen and pay attention to what we are doing now in the lesson. So we started with this. We had the bicycle. This was on Monday, the bicycle that was on sale and it was half price. So we're paying half of the 570 Rand for it, which was 285 Rand. And then we went on and we worked out, we said what we could do is we could break up the number. That was one plan that we could make. Some of you had other ideas of how to do it. That's perfectly fine. But this was one way that we could do it to calculate the answer. And if you're working out a half of something, that's just the same as dividing it by 2. That's one way of thinking about it. A half of 416, for instance, this first question that we did, 2a, that's just dividing 416 by 2. And you can do it with any method or plan that you've learned along the way. This is just what I teach you because this is what I think works very well. If you have another way to do it and it works, then you can do it that way too. Okay, so let's go on now. And here we have Peter has 364 Rand to spend. He spent a quarter of his money at the bookshop. How much money did he spend? So work it out. And when you have a chance, as soon as you're ready, put the answer in the chat. Make sure it's right, don't guess, and no calculators. Yeah, you can think of it as long division as well. Long division is, but what I want you to start thinking about is what is the, not the quickest way, but what is the least amount of trouble to do. Like long division is quite a lot of trouble, okay? So think about which way is the least amount of effort. Because as I always say, mathematicians, we are lazy. We have so many things we need to do. We don't want to spend too much time doing long division and things that are going to take a lot of time. We want the way that takes the least effort. Okay. So he spent a quarter of his money. Put your answer in the chat. I'm waiting for some answers here, guys. This shouldn't take too long. A quarter. Some of you are saying it's 91. Let's see. I really want you guys to start moving away from saying, I'm so confused, I don't understand. Ask a meaningful question like, I don't know how to do, or I don't understand but what they mean by, you know, and you complete that sentence. When you're at school, practice it as well. Okay, nice. Quite a few of you have got it. I'm not sure how people are getting 71. Let's see. Okay, so the correct answer is 91. And let's see how we did it. So first of all, a quarter is that, right? If we write a quarter as an amount, then it's a quarter, 1/4. And because we are working out a quarter of 364, that's the same as multiplying the 364 by a quarter. Or I think as some of you thought about it, which is perfectly fine, that's the same as dividing 364 by 4. Now, how are we going to divide 364 by 4? We can break up the number, and I see some of you did that. And we can say 360. We can say 364 can be divided or broken up into 360 and into 4. So 360 divided by 4 gives me 90. And then if you take the 4 and you divide it by 4, then you get 1. So therefore, the total is 90 plus 1, and it is 91. Okay, maybe some of you thought that 90 goes into 367 times, but that won't be correct. It is 91. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to use that same plan now, and here's another example with Kaleka. Kaleka has 284 Rand to spend. She spent a quarter of her money at the music shop. How much money did she spend? So we can say a quarter of 285, and there's so many ways to think of a quarter of 285. It's 284. It's the same as dividing 284 by 4. Or we say a quarter times 284. But we can take the numbers, the pointers, we can take 284 and break it up into 280 and 4. We do that because it is so much easier to work with 280, because 4 can go into 280 and 4 can go into 1. So that just makes our lives easier. I think some people, that's what happened in the previous question. You just said it's 71 because this question is 71. No, guys, you need to make sense of this. Okay, so don't just post whatever you see on the screen. Work it out properly. And listen to the explanation, and you'll know what to do if you just listen to the explanation and follow what is going on. Okay, so here we say a quarter of 280 is 70, and a quarter of 4 is 1. Put the 70 and the 1 together, and that is 71. Okay, let's go on, and we do these next 4 questions from 4A, B, C, and D. Let's do those. Just work quietly on your own for 2 minutes. And in 2 minutes' time, Ms. Kia, can you just disable the chat? In 2 minutes' time, we will enable the chat again, and then you can share your answers. But for now, 2 minutes and work on your own. I'll do a little bit of question time. If you're not asking a question, then you are just working on your own to do 4A to D. Right, so Kolofelo was first. Kolofelo, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good morning, ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask that, ma'am, how do you make divide easy? Like, ma'am, like, how do you do divide by making it easy, ma'am?
So I like to make divide easy by breaking up the numbers like I did here. So the 284 that we are dividing by 4, I like to break numbers up. So the 280 goes to 280 and 4. And then I divide each of those. But the important part is that you have to know your multiplication facts very well to do division, because division is just the opposite of multiplication. So if you're struggling with division, then I would suggest you start there, learning all your multiplication facts. If you weren't here at the beginning of the year when we did multiplication and division, then go watch those recordings and practice your multiplication and division facts, okay? Because that's how you'll then know that 280 divided by 4 gives me 70. 280 divided by 4 equals 70. And 4 divided by 4 equals 1. And then we just put it back together again, and that is 71. So our answer for 284 divided by 4 is 71. Okay.
Yes,
Is that okay? Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go to Dimple.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Are we supposed to times it by the 4 or by the 1? Do we time first or divide?
Don't think of the 4 and the 1 as separate things, okay? 1/4 is 1/4. It's a number. So you timesing 448 by 1/4. And the way to think about it is to say, okay, so 484, if I times it by 1/4, it's the same as dividing it into quarters, because we know that fourths are quarters. And dividing it into quarters is the same as dividing by 4. Okay, so don't think that it is that the 1 and the 4 stand separately from each other. It's one number. A quarter is a quarter. It's a number on its own. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Matthew.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I got my test back today, my math test on whole numbers and common and decimal fractions. But then I didn't do so good. So do you have any tips on how I can improve that?
Well, it's difficult to say without me seeing the test, knowing what was on the test and seeing where you went wrong. But I would say just make sure that you follow the instructions on the test very carefully, and that before the time you prepare very well, like when you study for a maths test, you have to work out, do some exercises, go through your textbook, make sure you revise all the work that leads up to the test, and that you don't just sort of glance over or anything like that, but make sure that you can actually do all the sums that your teacher taught you. And yeah, so just make sure that you're very well prepared, I'd say.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Right, guys. So, Ms. Kia, I'm going to just pause there with the questions. We'll see if there's time for more. Ms. Kia, you can enable the chat again, and let's see. So what is a quarter of 448? Post your answers in the chat. A quarter of 448 is 112. Well done, everybody. Excellent. And what is a quarter of 208? By the way, these are rand, so we should put our rand values in. So what's a quarter of 208? That is 52. Excellent. And now we've just switched the numbers around, but we can do that with multiplication, right? It doesn't matter which number goes first. It's just with division and subtraction that we can't do that. We can't just switch and rooney everything. We have to, we can only do that with addition and multiplication. So 328 times a quarter, what do we get? People are saying 82, 92. Well, if we break it up into 320 and into 8, then 4 goes into 320 80 times. How do I know that so quickly? Because remember, 4 goes into 32 8 times, and then you just put the 0, and then 8 divided by 4 is 2, not 4. So my answer there is most certainly 82. And last one, 368 times a quarter. 368 times a quarter. Here we go. We say that is 92. Same thinking as the one before that. 360 divided by 4 is 90. And then we're going to do the 8. That's 2. So that is 92. Okay. Excellent, everybody. Okay. So we're going to leave our multiplication there. If you're getting something different, then just check. You maybe made a mistake somewhere. All these 8s that we divide by 4 is 2, so there shouldn't be a 1 at the end. Okay. So our last little bit before we're going to move on to our quiz this evening is percentages. And before we do percentages, we're just going to think a little bit about hundredths. So if we look at hundredths, it means that whatever whole that I'm looking at, and I am dividing it up into hundreds, I'm dividing it into 100 little pieces. So if this was a massive pizza that we are sharing with 100 people, then everyone's going to get a little hundredth of a piece. So that's what a hundredth is. So if I look at a half will be the same as 50 hundredths. And a tenth, what do you guys say? A tenth, how many hundredths in a tenth? How many hundredths in a tenth? Good stuff. Yes, that's 10. 10 hundredths in a tenth. So 2 tenths will be how many hundredths? 20. And 9 tenths will be how many? 90. That's right. So just watch the pattern. It goes 1 tenth is 10 hundredths, 2 tenths is 20. So 9 tenths must be 90. What about a quarter? How many hundredths in a quarter? 25. Nice. And then a 20th. We did 20ths today in our chain as well. So how many 20ths in 100? Tamara says 5. I agree. That's right. 5 hundredths is a 20th. Okay, and now we're switching gears here and we go 0,5. So 0,5 is our decimal. So how many hundredths in 0,5? 50. Okay, so remember, if I have 0,5, that's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 0,5, you just put all those zeros. So if you want the hundredths, then that's 50. Also, 0,5 is the same as a half, which we said was 50 over 100. So you see how maths all makes sense. It has to, otherwise the whole system breaks down. 0,3, how many hundredths is that? 30. And now 0,03, how many hundredths? Think about what I just explained. Nice, that's 3. And 0,45. Okay, so be careful here, guys. These two answers can't be the same. We can't say 0,3 is 30 hundredths and 0,03 is also 30 hundredths. That's not right. But 0,03, if we look at the 3, that tells us already how many hundredths there are. There's 3 hundredths. And then this one will be 45 hundredths. And 0,06, how many hundredths would that be? Let's try and get this one right. If you didn't do question I so well, that's 6. And a 25th, how many hundredths would that be? That's excellent. Yes, that's 4 hundredths is 1/25. Excellent. Good stuff. So percentages are just simply hundredths written in a short way. And percent is percentum. This is fun fact for today, if you're interested. Percent is percentum, which is per hundred in Latin. So that's where the word comes from. It comes from a Latin word, percentum, which means per hundred. Okay, I'm going to pause here and see how well we can do this without me saying anything, let's do up to E. Okay, so can anyone tell me what is 5/100ths as a percentage? Put that in the chat. 5/100ths as a percentage. There's only 5/100ths, not 50/100ths, just 5/100ths, and that is 5%. Okay. Yes, many of you did this last year. Good. Okay, so 5/10ths. My suggestion here would be to first figure out how many hundredths you get with 5/10ths. Or if you know your stuff, then you can go straight to the answer, which is 50%. Well done. 50/100. Okay. And a quarter. Quarter is 25%. Well done, everybody. And a 20th. How big is that percentage? You can also look maybe at our previous answers. We said a 20th is 5/100ths. So a 20th will be 5%. Okay, remember to just say if you're confused what it is that you're confused about. Say, how did you get that? So we did say earlier on that a 20th, how many 20ths are there, or how many hundredths do you get if you have a 20th? So we said that was 5/100ths. So 5/100ths is just another way. When we do percentages, we just express hundredths as a percentage. So that gives me 5%. Okay. Right, everyone, do the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your own, and let's have some more questions. Okay, so Nompilo is saying, I'm confused with the numbers that do not have a denominator of 100. Okay, so to make that denominator into 100, there's a few ways that we can do it. The way most of you probably know is to say a 20th. How do I get from 20 to 100? I times by 5 and then times by 5. So that gives me 5/100. So if you're stuck on that part, first take it to 100 with a denominator of 100, and then do the percentage, because as soon as you have the denominator of 100, then you know what the percentage is. That's it. Okay, let's take 1 or 2 questions. Yes, I see you, Lizzie. You can ask your question.
Ma'am, I'm asking, can I please, when are we gonna do the powers, like 2 plus 2 equals a power or something?
We did exponents a few weeks back. We did like the square roots and the cube roots. We did those. We did like 2 squared plus 2 squared, like that. So that's 4 plus 4. That we did a few weeks ago. So I'm not sure if you were around when we did that, but the recordings are available on our website, and you can have a look, see if it's if that helps.
And ma'am, can you please go a little bit slower? You are going too fast.
Okay, sure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Umuhle, you can ask your question. Umuhle, do you still have a question?
Hi, sorry, miss. Miss?
Yes.
Miss, on on a quarter, miss, how much do you get 25 over 100, miss?
On a quarter. So
Yes.
think of dividing 100 into quarters. That is the same as 25ths. Or you can say, if this is a quarter, how
Yes,
many
miss.
hundredths? So if I divide 100 into quarters, that's 4 times 25, and then 1 times 25 gives me 25, and that's 25%.
Oh, thank you, miss.
Okay. Right, let's check what we got here before we go off and do our quiz. So for question F, we've got 60 hundredths, that's 60%. We've got 6 hundredths, that's 6%. 6 tenths, you can convert that back to 60 over 100, or if you know this very well, then you can go straight to 60%. And then 3/5, let's make that into hundredths. So what do I have to times 5 by to get 100? That's 20. And then that's 3 times 20 gives me 60. And that is 60%. So if it's 60 over 100, it's 60%. And then 1/25, we times by 4 times by 4 to get 100. So that's 4 hundredths, that's 4%. Okay, right. I think that's all we have time for today.